It's a big weekend for Tide fans. The Alabama Crimson Tide visits Penn State this weekend. They'll tangle with Joe Pa and his Nittany Lions on their home turf in Happy Valley. WVUA Sports Director Gary Harris has been keeping a close eye on the Tide, and he joins me now with more. Gary, thank you very much for being with me.
It's my favorite segment of the week.
Is it?
As far as you know.
Oh, well, there you go. That's good enough for me, buddy.
There you go.
And plus, you're in it, so that just makes it all.
Yeah. No, I do like doing this one because, you know, most of the other shows I've got to prepare and I've got to write something up, and this one I just come out and sit down and we just chat about it.
There you go.
But it is a big weekend, and you know, something that's ironic before we actually get into the game, as I was talking about this last night at 10 with Claire and Richard after the little last weather. Think about this: tomorrow is going to be a perfect football weekend in Tuscaloosa. Right around 80 degrees, low humidity, beautiful day. The game's in Pennsylvania, where you expect it to be cool and crisp, not so much. Hot, muggy, it's been wet, it's going to be miserable weather conditions. Even if the rain's out of there, the field, you know, potentially could be very sloppy. So,
absolutely,
of all years, you know, for it, you know, normally you think you're going to Pennsylvania and
right.
Leaves are already going to be turning.
Right.
Not going to be the case.
Lee has just totally fouled up everything for this game.
Of course, Alabama doesn't care. You know, they just
right.
want to get up there and get a W. And this is going to be a tough football game, Danny. I think that when you look at the two teams, everybody wants to point back to last year, 24-3. But as we know, it really wasn't that close. Penn State was not ever really in the football game, but it was here. It was very hot last year. I think Penn State wore down. They're a much better team at their place, a lot like Alabama. Great stadium, great fans, great tradition. They're going to be jacked up. I think it's going to be a tough, hard-nosed football game. Yes, I think Alabama's better, but you know, if the best team won every game, as I like to say, why play them? You know, I thought Alabama was better than South Carolina, LSU, and Auburn last year, and they lost to all three of those teams. Interesting note here: both teams will play two quarterbacks. Bolden and McGloin for Penn State, A.J. McCarron and Phillip Sims for Alabama. So uniforms are similar, simple and plain. Traditions are great. Both teams have not settled on a starting quarterback. Interesting matchup, to say the least.
And this will also be one, too. I like it that you mentioned the uniforms, because we have seen
all
such a variety, especially the Maryland
all
uniforms.
These crazy uniforms, Oregon, Maryland. You're not going to see it with Alabama and Penn State. When Alabama wore the Nike Pro Combat uniform a couple years ago, you could hardly tell any difference.
There you go.
You know, it's about tradition. But I think Alabama's going to win a tough football game at Penn State. I think the defense is going to be the difference. I do worry about the young quarterbacks. You know, both McCarron and Sims have not played in an environment like this, but I think Bama will get it done at 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. You know, some other interesting games tomorrow on the schedule. First and foremost in this state, of course, is Auburn and Mississippi State. And Danny, most people look at this game. First of all, Mississippi State's favorite at Auburn. How often does that happen?
By 7 points.
Yeah, most people. Well,
you
look at this game and see what happened last week. Mississippi State demolished Memphis in the Liberty Bowl. Auburn was very fortunate. Some would say almost lucky to win against Utah State. Not so fast, my friend, to borrow a line from Lee Corso. I've seen this before. Mississippi State does not handle the favorites real well. On paper, they're better, and they may go in and win the game, but I'm picking Auburn. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to spoil my fearless pick for 5 o'clock. I think Auburn will win this football game.
I don't blame you a bit. This has been the script for Auburn for years.
Well,
and they struggle early on. Everybody pumps up Mississippi State. They've got a new coach or a new athlete or somebody that's supposed to be fantastic, and Auburn just whoops them.
Well, I hate to say it because you know, Mississippi State does look like they've got a better football team. I've got to see them do it. They're going to have to prove it to me first. They're going to have to go to Auburn and win tomorrow before I'm on their bandwagon. Another game we're watching closely: South Carolina and Georgia. South Carolina, the defending SEC East champion. Georgia, boy, they're on Mark Richt now. I mean, the Boise State game, Georgia was jacked up, had crazy uniforms of their own in the Georgia Dome, and then they just got blitzed by Boise State. You know, again, call me crazy. Mark Richt's had great success against South Carolina. It's in Athens. I got a feeling Georgia's going to play well in this game.
Really?
I'm not going to go out on a limb yet and pick it because I want to save it for 5 o'clock, fearless picks, but I got a feeling Georgia's going to play well.
I think Mark Richt's going to be in a lot of trouble this season.
Let me plug our high school coverage tonight, too, real quick.
Sure thing.
In addition to fearless picks at 5, regular sports at 6 and 10, football Friday tonight at 10:35. Once again, a bevy of games. In fact, Todd Hoyer is heading over to Birmingham to get a couple of big games there. Hillcrest is at Bessemer City, and unbeaten Northridge is at Minor. Both Hillcrest and Northridge unbeaten, plus some local games. So we'll have all that for you tonight, 10:35. So it's another football Friday. Bama, Penn State tomorrow. Crimson Tide kickoff tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We encourage everybody to start their football Saturday with us, John Huddleston and myself, live right here from the University of Alabama campus. We're going to have a special interview with Preston Gothard from Penn State. live. You know, the guy that caught the touchdown pass, what should have been the touchdown pass, the game winner in 1983 that was ruled out of the end zone, even though half his body was in the end zone.
Right.
We'll talk with him. We'll talk with Malcolm Moran, Penn State historian. We'll have feature stories. Going to have another former player, won't say who yet, that's going to be in studio that played against Penn State for Coach Bryant. So big show on tap in the morning.
All right, super. Looking forward to it, Gary, and
All right,
thanks
Danny.
a bunch. Don't forget, you can get your game day started bright and early right here on WVUA TV. Join Gary Harris and John Huddleston for Crimson Tide Kickoff presented by Alpha Insurance. That's happening tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.